If you still think Ripple is just a cross-border payments company, this announcement should probably change your mind because Ripple just expanded into equity derivatives. So Ripple announced that Ripple Prime has officially launched its Delta One business, and it's already live. And with it, institutional clients can now execute total return swaps across US equities, indices, and digital assets. So if you're wondering what that is, total swap return basically allows an institution to gain the economic exposure to an asset without necessarily owning the asset directly. So imagine a hedge fund wants $100 million of exposure to the S&P 500. Well, instead of simply purchasing $100 million worth of stocks, it could swap to receive the economic return of that exposure. That's normal institutional finance. But here is the part that I want you to remember. Ripple Prime now gives its institutional clients access to equities, foreign exchange, fixed income, derivatives, and digital assets. And they do this all through one single counterparty. And those clients can cross-margin exposures across these different asset classes 24/7. So think about what that means. Instead of an institution having capital and collateral fragmented across completely different financial markets, Ripple Prime is creating infrastructure that connects them. And we're not talking about some teeny experimental platform here. Ripple's Delta One business has more than $1 billion in regulatory net capital. And as a broader platform, Ripple Prime clears more than $3 trillion annually across markets and serves more than 300 institutional clients. Now, let's take a look at the big picture. Ripple now has infrastructure spanning payments, custody, stablecoins, treasury management, prime brokerage, clearing, financing, digital assets, and now equity derivatives. Okay, Tad, so that's all great, right? But what does that mean for XRP? Well, don't get your moon suit on yet, but there are some very interesting connections between Ripple Prime, RLUSD, the XRP ledger, and potentially XRP. But we'll cover that in the next video to go over what's confirmed and what we're still speculating.
I say this, and I keep saying it. XRP is the North Star of what Ripple's doing. We care more about what's going on in XRP than anybody else. There's obviously a lot of people who care, but we care more than anybody else. That will remain the case. Sometimes you'll see Ripple do something, and you'll be like, oh, I see a direct line between they did this, positive outcome around XRP, there's a direct line. Sometimes even people inside the company are like, hey, I don't get it. I promise you that when we do something over here, it may have 1 hop or 2 hops or 3 hops, but we're doing it because we think it's going to drive an outcome in the XRP ecosystem.